Hello my friends, welcome back to a new video. Okay, I have a confession. I have been collecting seed packets and not planting them. However, this is the year I stop collecting and start sowing. My name is Michelle, the Marathon Gardener. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. And today we are working on starting seeds for the season. I think I'm all set for the season. It's going to be super fun to see how successful I am. So the next thing I'm going to go do is go get my new grow light and unpack that. Here is my new grow light garden kit. I am very excited to get this unpacked and set up. I'm basically a seed starting rookie, so this is all new to me. So bear with me as we learn and grow together. All right, I have all my seeds ready. I have selected Swiss chard. I have some peas, some bush beans, a couple different varieties of lettuce, some beets, some radishes, spinach, and some onions. So the first thing I'm going to get started with is getting my seed potting mix ready. And I know there's so many different varieties, but for me, I will just start with this brand, which is Miracle Grow. So we'll see how this works out. What I'm curious about is if I'm going to need to buy more. So I'm not sure how much soil these trays are going to, how much they'll fill up. So after doing some research, I know this is one of the most important things is getting your soil moist. My grandmother was a gardener and I inherited this bowl. I don't know what it was used for, but this is the perfect bowl for this project. It is amazing how much water this will take before it starts getting to be moistened. I know a lot of things I can direct sow being in zone 8B soon, as it's quite mild in Victoria, BC. However, I don't have all my raised beds ready to go. I'm in the middle of building a second one. So I thought it'd be fun to at least get some seeds started, and then I will move them into the beds later. At least this way they get a good start. This is a workout in itself. I think the consistency is getting closer. So I think I have the right consistency now for the soil. It seems to be well hydrated. They recommend that it be kind of a nice sponge-like texture, and that seems to be where it's at now. I am going to start filling up my seed trays. But this is exciting to see how this all works out. And then next year, I'll just be that much more experienced. Because we know this is the best way to learn, is taking action. One more to go. It looks like I'll have enough soil, so I'm pleased about that. I think that's pretty good for now. I'm going to look at, maybe I'll leave this one out. Okay, I think I'm just about ready to sow some seeds. I have the soil nicely hydrated. I've selected all my seeds that I'm gonna sow, and I found myself some popsicle sticks, and I wrote all the different varieties on them with a black Sharpie, and I also included the date, and I also went through all the packages and read on the backs of them the seed depth and their spacing. I decided I'm not gonna sew these too closely together because this is all new, so I'm not gonna go too crazy. So I'm just gonna do 4 rows, and on each popsicle stick, after I read the backs of each of the packages, I did a little line showing the depth of each of them. So I also chose ones that had the similar depth, so when I add a little bit of more soil on the top, then it's all consistent. So anyhow, the first one we're going to start off is with Swiss chard. And I love a good salad. Luckily I can grow all the leafy greens. And it is interesting seeing all the different textures of all these different seeds. Lots of people recommend putting a couple seeds in each hole to ensure germination, so that works for me. Why not add a little extra to be safe? Next are radishes. I did direct sow these last year and I didn't have any luck. So we'll see what happens with sowing them. Next is lettuce. This is called Grand Rapids. Wow, lettuce seeds are very fine. And I have another lettuce variety called Butter Crunch. You think of all these different things as you go through life, and as I said, my grandmother was a big gardener, and I have no idea if she started her own seeds or not. I'll have to ask the question. But I think if we can master this, it'd be really rewarding. Instead of going out and buying all the plants, I been making my own hanging baskets now, and it's great. I mean, they don't look as amazing as when you buy them already in the stores and they're already in full bloom, but it doesn't take long. All right, so that is one tray done, 3 more to go. I have just finished sowing some bush beans and some sugar snap peas. Next is I am going to do some dark red beets. I have some spinach, some yellow beans, and some onions. Beets look very similar to the seeds, look very similar to the Swiss chard ones. Not all these seeds are brand new, so this is also an experiment to see if these are still viable, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, so I'm giving it a try. Next is my spinach, which likes to be planted 1 inch deep. I'm going to write myself another popsicle stick so I don't lose track of where everything is. Next is my yellow beans. And these are always significantly bigger. And they like to be, looks like 1.5 to 2 inches deep, which is pretty much at the bottom of the tray. I am very hopeful that these all work out. There we go. Another tray complete. Lastly, I am going to sow some kale, red Russian. All right, that's a wrap for my seed sowing. I'm just going to top these up with a little bit of dirt. Maybe I'll move that before it ends up on the floor. Now I'm just going to water them all in. Well, I think that is pretty much it. I am now going to take it to its home, and I will be sure to make sure it gets consistent growing time. If you're interested, you can check back next month and we'll see how this all plays out, and hopefully we have some germination. Welcome to my laundry room, which now might be my new seed starting place. This glow makes it finally feel official. Seed starting has begun. There's something hopeful about this stage. Tiny seeds, fresh soil, a little light, and now we wait and see what happens.
February is still technically winter, but here in our mild coastal climate, the garden is already hinting at what's to come. While much of the country is still tucked under snow, here in Victoria we're beginning to see the first green tips of early bulbs pushing through the softening ground. It's a subtle shift, but if you look closely, the garden is quietly waking up.
And while all this is happening outside, I have been inside stockpiling seeds year after year. However, this is the year I stop collecting and start sowing.
Winter aconite, those tiny golden stars, are nature's first whisper of spring, just 3 inches tall with bright yellow cups that open up fully in sunlight and close at night, each one cradled in a rough collar of bright leaf bracts. And the Christmas roses, our beloved hellebores, begin to open, often called Victoria's winter flower. They surprise us with creamy white and soft pink blooms rising above crisp green foliage, even in the shade, which I have plenty of in my garden. The weather can still keep us guessing. Snow one day, mild sunshine the next. But there's always that moment when you just know spring is on its way. Early crocuses seem to pop up almost overnight. Snowdrops are one of the first true signs of spring, and they're also one of the most endearing. February is also when we start to notice intensely fragrant plants like Daphne odora, a winter favorite that smells absolutely amazing. This month in the garden isn't showy. It's quiet, but it's full of promise. And I have to show you this. This is one of those it looks worse before it looks better moments. This is the space for the reservoir for my happiness project. It's a big step and honestly a big hole, but it's necessary groundwork. Last month was my vision. This month is excavation. Back in the garden, February still follows much of January's rhythm. But toward the end of the month, weather permitting, there are a few extra tasks to think about. Last season's debris can be cleared, beds can be lightly cultivated, and everything can be gently prepared so that when it's time to top dress with compost in March, we're already one step ahead. And just like that, we're ready to welcome spring, slowly, thoughtfully, and right on time. Making my way over to the northwest garden bed, the purus is beginning to show its delicate white spring blooms. Nearby, the spring heather is putting on a lovely display of fuchsia and soft white flowers, and I'm starting to see plenty of daffodil leaves pushing their way up through the leaf mulch. It's always exciting to see these early signs. They're a reminder that the March spring tour isn't far away. Over along the front alpine rock face, the sedums are already looking lush, and my Virginia is especially happy in this spot. Tucked between the rock crevices are several pockets of tulips just beginning to peek through, quietly preparing for their spring show. At the top of the rock face, another heather is making a beautiful display, almost like it's overlooking the garden bed below. As I move along toward the west side of the garden, I'm always reminded how much I appreciate the winter structure of the garden. Before the spring leaves fully arrive, you really notice the shapes, textures, and bones of the landscape, and there's something special about that quiet structure. Walking back up the stone pathway towards the garden shed, more daffodil shoots are emerging all around the beds. It's another small reminder that the garden is slowly waking up, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how everything unfolds in March. The one thing that I learned for the month of February is that preparation is everything. However, I am once again reminded action is the most important. Thanks for joining me on my February garden tour. I hope this inspires you to plant something, even if it's just one seed. Happy gardening. Happy running. May you find joy in whatever keeps you growing. Until next time, bye for now.